Number 20, Death, Leprosy. Yes, this is the Death album I like the most. It's their second album, released in 1988. I've never owned Scream Bloody Gore, but it's the that was their debut album, where Death pretty much invented death metal, pretty much. But yeah, a lot of people like their second album even more than their first album. Leprosy is a classic death metal album. The opening track, Leprosy, is brilliant. Right from the beginning. Dun, 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 dun. It's just great lyrics and everything about leprosy, obviously. Leprosy will take control and bring you to your death. No chance of a normal life to live just like the rest. Leprosy. There's this weird bit as well where it actually gets quite. There's a bit of a swing to the percussion, which is always like feels kind of groovy almost, which is interesting. But yeah, this album is full of great like death metal, gory subject matter as you'd expect from classic old school death metal, but very accomplished guitar work from Chuck Schuldiner, of course. Another highlight, as well as the title track, other highlights are like Forgotten Past, which I didn't appreciate so much when I was younger, but I've gotten into more recently. But yeah, that's a good song. But some of the real highlights of the album are Left to Die, which is all about the guitar solo in the middle, really. But yeah, Left to Die, brilliant, brutal song about being left to die in agony. And Pull the Plug, which is a great kind of euthanasia song about, you know, someone on a life support machine or something, like wanting to like the plug to be pulled because they don't want to live that way. So already Death is showing the intelligence, some of the intelligence in some of the lyrics is showing, which makes them a bit of a cut above a lot of other death metal bands. But yeah, Leprosy, a true death metal classic. It's one of the foundation stones of death metal in the late 80s there, 1988. And it's a real classic death metal album that every death metal fan should own, I think. Number 19, Deep Purple, In Rock. This is my favourite Deep Purple album. This is the highest Deep Purple album on the list. I mean, this was the first album as in the Mark II lineup, with Ian Gillan and Roger Glover. This is really, as well, the first studio album of theirs where they really had a kind of hard rock, proto-heavy metal kind of sound. But before that they were sort of psychedelic-ish, progressive-ish 60s kind of rock thing. And obviously the Deep Purple sound still has a sort of 60s feel to it with the Hammond organ and everything. But yeah, this is where they really started being hard rock or heavy metal, with tracks like Speed King, which, as the name suggests, is a fast track. A lot of 50s rock and roll influenced lyrics in there, but you know, Speed King, it's a good song. Child in Time, of course, their big epic progressive magnum opus. Child in Time, which is just a classic of rock music in general, really, with the amazing screaming vocals of Ian Gillan. Flight of the Rat, which has the best riff somehow. Living Wreck and Hard Loving Man are real showcases of all the like guitar and keyboard, the Hammond organ kind of work. Very exciting, just exciting music all the way through, really. Deep Purple's In Rock. Black Knight was a single. It's not part of the album as such, but it was around the same time, and it's on here as an extra track. But yeah, Deep Purple's In Rock is a classic early. I mean, it's like, it is one of the foundation stones at the beginning of hard rock and heavy metal. You got the first couple of Led Zeppelin albums. You got the, you know, some of the early Black Sabbath albums, but Deep Purple's In Rock is another very important foundation stone in the building of hard rock and heavy metal. And it's a complete classic, and it's my favourite Deep Purple album. Number 18. Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell. Yes, most of the Black Sabbath albums, all the other Black Sabbath albums on this list have Ozzy Osbourne on vocals and are early 70s. This one was 1980, and it was the first Black Sabbath album with Ronnie James Dio on vocals, who of course was famous before that from Rainbow. And yeah, Black Sabbath really reinvented themselves and reinvented their sound on this album. It's a more epic, operatic kind of feel. There's more of a gallopingness in the music at times, which seems to be like it was an influence on Iron Maiden somehow. And so it feels more, I mean, it fits more with its contemporaries, the new wave of British heavy metal stuff that's going on at the time. It sounds almost nothing like the early 70s Black Sabbath, which is funny because it was all the same members apart from the vocalist. And of course we've got Dio's very intelligent lyric writing here, deep, sometimes spiritually deep. In the song Heaven and Hell, it's a very deep, very spiritually deep song, and it's wonderful. But there's great fantasy kind of, you got that fantasy lyrics that Dio likes to do in a track like Neon Nights. Wishing Well is a really good song. This is another bit of like the wisdom of Ronnie James Dio's lyrics shines through on Wishing Well as well. And the track at the end, Lonely is the Word, which is just an awesome kind of expression of loneliness and sadness, and yeah, as the title says, lonely is the word. It's a lovely kind of emotionally affecting, epic kind of closing track for the album. And yeah, this is a really good Black Sabbath album. It's the second highest Black Sabbath album on this list, and it's not even an Ozzy one, it's a Dio one. It's that good that it really does stand up to the early Sabbath albums that everyone knows are classics. So I'd recommend it. It's really good heavy metal. Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell. Number 17. My Dying Bride, Songs of Darkness, Words of Light. Wow. This, to be honest, it is mainly about 3 tracks. It's 3 tracks in particular that make this album so special for me. My Dying Bride were Death Doom, and by this time a kind of gothic doom or gothic metal. But yeah, no one reaches the depths of despair and melancholy quite as effectively as My Dying Bride, it seems to me. As shown by the opening track, The Wreckage of My Flesh. My God! It's quite a long track, and it's monumentally awesome track about crushing despair and misery. That it blows me away. I mean, I got into this album at a time in my life where I was actually in the middle of a really bad depression anyway, and this was my song at that time to just perfectly articulate what I was feeling. And I mean, it's pretty bleak, suicidal stuff, really. I mean, loathsome I've become, a creature so undone, wretched and broken. Nothing said is new, nothing said is true. Fly away, my hope. All that stuff. The valley of death keeps calling me. Words like that, I mean, at the end, with utter loathing and scorn, I was somehow born, strewn in black decay, none shall I obey, the wreckage of my flesh, the nakedness of my death. It's very melancholy, very suicidal sentiments in that song, but by God, it's amazing. Another really good track on this album is My Wine in Silence, because it's just so beautiful, sad and beautiful at the beginning. It gets heavier later on in the track, but really that just, the way it opens and stuff, it's just so sad and so beautiful, and it's all, where are you now, my love, my sweet one, but it's the music that makes it so heart-wrenchingly beautiful, but also miserable as hell, and it's sublime. It really is. And then you've got the final track, "A Doomed Lover," which is another favourite of mine. I mean, it's about how. And I was at this time in a marriage where the sex just wasn't happening anymore. It always was a problem with us anyway. I understand now why I've always struggled with sex, but yeah, like a sexless marriage where it was clear to me that it needed to end. I just lacked the courage or the ability to end it at that time. But this was, I mean, a massive part of my depression, I think. I knew I needed out of this. I knew that would be best, not for just for me, but for her as well. We were unhappy, and it wasn't ever going to work or fix itself. We needed to move on from each other, and yet I was unable to leave at the time because of my financial situation. I literally couldn't move out because I couldn't afford to. So I was stuck and I felt trapped. But yeah, this song, "A Doomed Lover," is about, you know, this love is over and it's not coming back. It can't be saved. And our dying love, it prays in vain to live and pleads for help I simply cannot give. And it's the ending as well that makes this track so great. It's just the most despondent kind of despairing, there's no hope kind of thing. And the music at the end is just gorgeous and melancholy, but gorgeous, and it just like doom laden and hopeless, but totally beautiful in the way it's executed, and it's just wonderful. And I mean, you've got this line on that as well. My devoted love takes tiny backward steps away, loneliness aplenty now spread before me. Just the total despair of it. And but it's funny how sometimes the most miserable, tortured music can also be the most beautiful and satisfying and almost perversely emotionally uplifting in just the way it completely cathartically expresses this thing. And yeah, mainly it's those two tracks. The other tracks, they're okay, but they don't really reach me in the same way. But the sheer specialness of this album, as exemplified by those three particular tracks, is what makes it close to my heart and makes it so high on this list. Number 16, Anthrax, "Among the Living." Anthrax. This is the album I like the most from Anthrax. It's a lot of people's favourite Anthrax album. 1987, "Among the Living." It's just great. It demonstrates perfectly everything that's good about Anthrax. Their socially conscious lyrics, their kind of punky attitude, the way that when they thrash really hard, and just yeah. And opening track, "Among the Living," is great. "I Am the Law," great riff, Judge Dredd inspired lyrics, which is entertaining, and it's a good song. Really though, it's the second half that makes this album shine so much, which is like Indians and One World, ADI, The Horror of It All, and Imitation of Life, all of which are brilliant and demonstrate everything about Anthrax that makes them so bloody great at this time. And this is the album, the Anthrax album, that's the most worth getting. If you get one Anthrax album, get "Among the Living." It is a fantastic album.